Hi, I'm Amanda Lee from Sugar Cakes and welcome to Cake TV, brought to you by Renshaw. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you my quick and easy method for using silicone molds. So we're going to be filling them with Renshaw Extra Fondant, which I absolutely love because it's been specially formulated for various climates. And we're going to be finishing our fondant pieces off with Rainbow Dust Click Twist Brush. It's going to give them an amazing pearlescent and gold finish. So let's get started in this tutorial. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is to get our silicone molds prepped. So these are silicone molds that are specially made for food purposes. So these are food grade silicone molds. So a lot of people use different mediums to stop the fondant from sticking to these molds. I'm going to use vegetable shortening today. So I've just popped this into the microwave for about 20 seconds just to melt it down. And I'm going to use a brush just like this one, and I'm going to brush them on the inside of the molds. And what's going to happen is that this is going to stop the fondant from sticking into our molds, because obviously we need to get these out, not just in. So I water them down just to make it easier to apply. If the vegetable shortening is still in its firm state, it's very hard to brush it on. So I just melted it down just to make it really easy to get an even thin coat all the way around. So I'm going to be making this section of the mold and that little brooch there. And I've also got a bead, or some people call it a pearl mold. And I'm going to do the large one. So just going in with my vegetable shortening, just quick and easy, just like that. So I'm going to pop these into the fridge just to set it up, and then we're going to get started onto our fondant. Alright, so my silicone molds have just come out of the fridge and the vegetable shortening has set up beautifully. So I've got my fondant here. This is Renshaw Extra White, and this fondant has a beautiful texture to it. It's actually been formulated especially for the vast Australian climate. So whether you're in far north Queensland or in Tasmania, it's going to work amazingly for you. So when it comes out of the packet, you just want to give your fondant a good knead and make sure that it's nice and pliable and it's come to that really good workable consistency. And all you want to do is pull out a small portion, and you want to match the size of the fondant to the size of the mold that you're using. So I'm going to do this little brooch over here. So I'm just going to roll this into a ball, and a really good tip is to make sure that there's no creases in the fondant. If there's creases, that's going to show up in your shape that you pull out later on. So give it a really good roll, make sure all of the creases are out of there. And we want to start pressing this in. And oftentimes, if you mash it out really well, it'll actually fit perfectly into the mold. But I've got a little bit of excess here. So I'm actually going to use my palette knife and start pulling that excess off. And you just want to go outwards. If you go inwards, that's going to push the fondant towards the center and you're not going to fill out the entire mold. So just drag it outwards, just like that. And if there's any frayed edges, you can just neaten that up with your finger. Alright, so now that we've got that brooch mold done, we're going to move on to the chain. So I need a sausage shape to fill this mold. So I'm just going to pull out an approximate sized knob of fondant that I think is going to match up to this shape. And we're going to go in with a sausage this time. So we always want to try and get a shape that will fit similarly into that shape. So I'm just going to match it up here. And it's a little bit long, so I'm just going to nip that end off and get it to a similar length. And just pop the fondant sausage into that chain mold. And I'm going to use a small rolling pin just like this one. And I'm going to roll, pressing that fondant into that mold shape, and that's just going to come right off really easy. I'm going to do it again in the other direction, just pressing that fondant into the mold. So now that I've got this silicone mold filled out with the fondant, we're going to take that excess off. So I'm going to use my palette knife to do this. You can use a knife if you want to, but a lot of people accidentally cut into their silicone mold in the process. So I'm going to show you how to do it with a palette knife so you can prevent any destruction to your silicone molds. So it's really easy, it's just going in an outward fashion just like this. Cutting away. You don't have to worry about the center because that's already flat and flush because we've used our rolling pin. So just go outwards just like that, taking that excess off. So don't worry about those furry bits, we're going to neaten that up very shortly. And that's all of our excess taken off, and we just want to neaten this up really quickly now. So push inwards now. So before with the palette knife it was all about going outwards, and now we want to go inwards just to turn those little frayed edges back inside. And there you have it. That's the chain mold and the brooch filled out. So we're just going to leave this to one side for now. We're going to finish up this pearl beaded mold. So again with our fondant, we're going to start again with the sausage. So we're doing the large one now. So give that a knead just to get rid of all of that creases. And our sausage shape, give it a quick roll. And we can see that, yep, that's going to match up quite nicely. So to fill this mold, we've got to open it up a little bit. So I'm just going to start pushing the fondant sausage right into there. You just have to open up the mold and push the fondant in. I'm just going to pull off that excess right there. So that's filled out. Now we just want to push that fondant into the mold to make sure that we're reaching every single corner of that bead mold. So again with the rolling pin, give it a good roll, flip it around, and another roll. So I can feel that the fondant has filled out beautifully inside this bead mold. It's reached all the little corners. And I'm going to show you how to get rid of the excess using a knife now. So you want to be very careful doing this. You definitely do not want to slice up your precious silicone mold. So I'm going to work my way from the middle outwards. There are different ways of doing this. I find this method works best for me. So using my knife, holding it so that it is flat flush with the top of my mold, I'm going to start cutting away just like so, just jiggling it as you go along. And that's that excess taken off. You definitely want to clean off your knife, make sure there's no overhanging fondant, and we want to flip that around and continue the same way till all of that excess is taken off. It's that simple. So again with the chain mold, we just want to neaten up the sides. So it's got all these little furry bits hanging out, and we definitely don't want that to come across on our pieces when we unmold them. So let's neaten that up right now, pushing towards the middle. So that's all of our molds filled and ready to go. I'm actually going to pop this into the fridge for about 15 minutes to firm up, and this is going to make it a lot easier to take these fondant pieces out of the silicone molds. A lot of people tend to just yank them out right now, and you find that the shapes will all stretch out and it'll get a thumbprint in it. So definitely popping it in the fridge for a couple of minutes to firm up before unmolding them will help these fondant pieces maintain their shape. So I've just taken my silicone molds out of the fridge. These have been in there for about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to unmold these right now. So I've got here a baking parchment, and the reason why I've got this is because we're very shortly going to paint our mold pieces. So I'm just going to flip this over just like so and start on one corner, peel this off. And you can use your palette knife to do this. And basically you just want to gradually peel it off, and that one looks like it's going to come out as well. 2 in 1. So that's how we get them out. Just peel, peel, peel very gently. And there you have it. Perfect. And now we're going to get the bead out of the mold as well. So exactly the same thing. Flip it over. Start in one corner and push it out of the mold with your fingers. and you should have an unbroken chain of beads out of fondant. So that's done, all of our pieces are ready, and now we're going to paint them. You don't always have to paint them, but for these particular pieces I'm going to give them a beautiful sheen color. So today I'm using Rainbow Dust Click Twist brush, and I absolutely love this product. It's basically a brush pen that's already been pre-filled with color. It's amazing. So we're going to start with this Pearls over here, and I am using the Pearlescent white to give it a beautiful pearl color. So to use this brush, all you have to do is just twist it and the color will start to come out. So this is a beautiful sheeny pearl color, and I'm just going to dabble that color on the side just to make sure it's all covered, and you can just start painting it on. If you want more color, all you have to do is just twist. So usually you would adhere this piece onto your cake or your cupcakes and then paint it, but just for the purposes of this tutorial I'm going to show you what it's like to paint these pieces right here on this parchment. So if you need more color, just give it another twist and just keep painting. It's so easy not having to deal with mixing up colors, having a brush, cleaning the brush and all of that. It's just all in one, and it makes it so easy and so convenient. So that's the pearls done. It's got a beautiful sheen on them, and we're going to paint all these other pieces gold, and I'm using the metallic dark gold, the Click Twist brush, again from Rainbow Dust. So it's a lovely rich dark color. So every time you want color to come out, again just a little twist. I love this. This is a beautiful color. So just paint, paint, paint. Make sure you've got all of the little corners filled out. And that's my pieces completed. They've been molded, they've been demolded, they've been painted, and truly can use this technique for so many applications. As I said before, if you'd like to, you can place these onto your cakes or your desserts beforehand, before painting them. But this is how you quickly and easily fill and use silicone molds with fondant and finish them off with a beautiful metallic color. I'm Amanda Lee from Sugar Cakes, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. This has been Cake TV, brought to you by Renshaw.